Hello, everybody. All right, welcome to the Mikestand. Today is Sunday, May the 18th, 2025. Of course, it's our weekly look back in time in terms of the history of comics, the historical comic retrospect. Um, if for those of you who are in the chat, if you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything we talk about tonight um, grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and we'll try to answer the questions to the best of our ability. With that all being said, now I'd like to hand it off to my co-host for the evening, the Metal from the Vomitourium, uh, so he can go ahead and the shtick, right? Right there, Metal.
I guess. Hi, I'm the
You know
Metal.
what it
I
is.
do stuff.
Promote yourself, share any link. You know that,
I
right?
know. I think. Anyway, I do stuff. Like you just said, you can find me on the Vomitorium live, both Mondays and Thursday nights at about 9 p.m. Central Time, which I guess would be what, 7 your
Seven
time?
Pacific, seven
Yeah.
Pacific, 8 Eastern. Um,
No. It'd be 8 Mountain, 10 Eastern.
oh wait, 10. Yeah, that's right, 10 Eastern.
Yeah, you skipped
That's
a
right.
whole time zone.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
There you go.
yeah. I guess I'm still thinking usually when my show's on,
Yeah,
seven
yeah,
Pacific, 9 Central, 10 Eastern. I think it'd be 1 a.m. in Britain, and 11 a.m. the following morning in Japan.
yeah. That's about right. Anyway, yeah, you can catch us Monday, Thursday. Mondays we talk about like movies, shows, anime, comics, all that stuff. Thursdays we talk about gaming, toys, collectibles, everything on that side. We have a good time, and I also create a lot of comics and stories and stuff. I even do some pulps over on xdynamuschaos.com, which is what my background is mostly about, including a news story that we're working on called the Dreamscape Dilemma that here before. You can actually find the entire preview on the website. It's 5 pages. Will be 30 when it's completed, and we already started uploading some of the continuing pages of the chapter to Patreon. So if people don't want to wait for the comic to be done to buy it in its entirety, they could support on Patreon and just follow along as it's made. But yeah, that's basically what I'm doing these days.
All right. So, anything else you'd like to add before we get into the topic at hand?
No, not really.
All right. So, with that being said, now we'll get ready to move on to the main part of the show. So tonight, of course, we're taking another trip down comics history lane, going back to May of 1940. This week, we're going to be looking into the Holyoke universe, Holyoke Publishing universe. We'll be going over Whirlwind Comics Volume 1, Issue 2, and Crash Comics Volume 1, Issue 3, Crash Comics Adventures. Of course, we'll be looking at Holyoke's version of Cyclone. We'll be looking at Smash Dawson, Strongman, and maybe one other feature as well, depending on where we're at in time and all that. So, with that, why don't we go ahead and let's get started. So let me just double check. Make sure. Yep. Right. So, and Metal, as always, if anything brings your attention, just chime in. If something grabs your attention. Um, Let's see. Whirlwind Comics. Let's see. Is that maybe a little too big there? Maybe I should. 150. Seems to be fine, I guess. All right. Whirlwind Comics. Number 2, July. 10 cents. Cyclone Strikes Again. Scoops Hanlon, Rex Royce. Alrighty there. So. And of course, here's some things that you could have bought through the comic here, including Throwing Your Voice lesson, a blank cartridge gun,
A
World
live
Night.
chameleon.
Huh?
A live chameleon.
Oh, yeah, I see that. Wow, you can even order a live chameleon on there.
Or a marriage license for 10 cents. That's pretty cheap.
Well, this
I think the
one.
government's going to want their tax of it. I'd figure it'd at least be 15.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Price goes up after the sale if for the boys print cards, cut tickets, labels. Amazing new one-man shop here. For the first time, you can now get a boys printing press built with parts stamped out like auto bodies, lighter, stronger, and cheaper than castings. The idea that makes possible this low price comes complete. Oh, look at that. Get your own printing press there, too. The little man works his famous Gordon press. Ah.
That is definitely a very small one, though. It said it's only 11 inches high.
Well, I mean, they're dealing with kids doing this,
Yeah.
right? So
You're
I
going to
mean,
go print a stamp. That's what you're going to do.
the Cyclone. All right. Peter Blake is the Cyclone. For years, he has trained himself in jiu-jitsu, athletics, and circus acrobats until he can strike at crime with all the fury of a hurricane and the force of a tornado. Thus, the Cyclone name right there.
Oh, yeah. It's better that it's the force of a tornado and not the force of a hurricane. Like we have the fury of a hurricane, because a hurricane's force is actually really low since it's spread over such a large area. But a tornado, that's rough.
Yeah. Especially when in places like the middle part of the country, like in Kansas, all that, when the tornadoes come right down on you, right?
Oh, well, I was in DFW, Dallas Fort Worth area of Texas, and that's right on the end of Tornado Alley. We're to the point that when a tornado happens, we don't even flinch. It's just like part of the summer.
All right. Foreign spies plot in secret. We have orders to blow up the bridges and shipyards. Americans' industry must be crippled. In a transcontinental plane sits Peter Blake. That's a mighty important railroad down there. Far below, a railroad bridge is blown up. Boom! Peter rips off his outer garments and becomes the Cyclone. That explosion is the work of spies. Like, you notice how he knew that almost like immediately, right? He just goes.
How do you know that though? Like you just jump to that conclusion? Like it's like it could be the mob. It could just be some like punks that stole some dynamite. Like how do you know it's spies? You're not even there.
What's that man doing? What funny clothes, but he's handsome. The Cyclone opens his suitcase. I must act. Here's my parachute. Gangway, please. He's gone mad. He's going to jump. The Cyclone hurls himself from the plane. Now to pull the ripcord. The chute opens. The Cyclone makes a safe landing. There's a train coming fast. Hope I can save it. He climbs a signal tower. I'll set the semaphore by hand. Danger! The streamlined express stops a few feet from disaster. The Cyclone leaps. Alright, should have maybe gone down that one. Well, I don't know. Leaps from the tower. I just like how they sometimes do these boxes.
Yeah, just intentionally make it difficult for you to read them. You know. But that danger sign, like I hope they put it like no less than a quarter mile back. I mean, depending on the speed of the train, it might have needed to be a full mile back because sometimes it could take that long for a train to come to a full stop.
To a telephone pole with the bridge down. I'm sorry. To a telephone pole. With the bridge down, the only way to cross is on telephone wires.
Which is pretty dangerous. Let's see how he does it. Okay, he's on one wire. As long as you're only on one wire, it's fine because the voltage might be high, but if you're on the same wire, the amplitude is 0. So a circuit is not being created between you and two wires. So that's perfectly okay. That's why birds are fine. They could just like land on a single wire and not have an issue.
All right, so as we continue on here, the cyclone begins to cross on the wires. My circus tightrope walking comes in handy. It looks like it does, doesn't it? There.
Yeah, especially because he chose the middle wire too. So if he falls, he's hitting one of the other two wires and creating a circuit. Like it would have been smarter to pick one of the edge wires because you could just like dive to a side that didn't have another wire in case you lost your balance. But this guy's clearly a pro, so he's not even worried about that.
Across the gorge, the spies. Well, we wrecked. We wrecked the bridge, but somebody stopped the train. We'd better scram and quick. There's a roundhouse near here. We'll hold up the workers and steal a locomotive. A few minutes later, in the roundhouse, hands up, you two. We want an engine. What the? The workers are bound hand and foot. Tie him up tight, Fritz. You'll go to jail for this. We're off. They can't catch us now. But the cyclone has seen the whole thing. They're escaping in a locomotive. It's luck that I'm almost across. Soon he speeds to the roundhouse. I want an engine, quick. What? Another one? Untie us, let us up. Someone else will release you someone else will release you. I'm in a hurry.
He's a really rude hero.
Yeah, there are occasions where that does happen. The cyclone's engine speeds out along the track. Inside the cab, I must crowd on speed. I'm doing 60 now. Interesting way of saying that. Crowd on speed.
Yeah, these days, if you heard crowd on speed, it'd probably be a bunch of druggies.
Yeah, no kidding. The Cyclone's engine overpaces the one with the spies. Inside the locomotive. There's another engine chasing us. Don't talk so much. Shovel coal. 80 miles an hour. Now I can get out on top. Wonder what he's gonna do when he gets on top. Guess we'll find out soon.
It's probably going to jump from one train to another. That would be my guess.
Yeah. The Cyclone climbs out of the cab window. He pulls himself up the side of the engine. It's a bit warm, but I'll make it.
A bit warm? Have you ever touched those things while they're running?
That's
an understatement.
Burning hot.
Yeah.
Probably burn your hand off. Just a few yards now between the engines. He leaps and lands on the coal tender of the spy's engine.
So you know what's really reckless? Not jumping between trains, because if it's only a few yards, you could easily make that. You're about the same speed. Relativity, you're fine. But you started up another train engine that's going to continue to go until it burns out of the fire you left in it, and then it'll slowly roll into a stop. And I mean, you have to keep shoveling coal, so the fire is not going to last too long, but it's going to last long enough that train is going to go many miles on a track, unattended, and this was a borrowed engine. So that means that everybody else on the lines don't know that this train's there for them to route around or anything. So like you could just have a head-on collision for no reason because of the way this guy decided to catch up to this train.
Yeah, we've talked about before. When we've read a number of these stories, right, about how the author's concept of certain things, leaves something to be desired, right?
Yeah. Because like even if the train wasn't moving, like it did still roll to a stop, there's still just a train on the tracks. If it's standing still, though, the other conductor might see the train more than a mile away and can come to a stop before they collide into it. But then you've just got several trains stuck on tracks now, right? And so somebody's have to get out. They're going to have to like hook the trains up so that the train behind it can push the other train all the way back to the station, which is going to have to burn more fuel. So then they're going to have to unload all the coal from the other train engine over to this one so that they have enough fuel to make it to the next station. This is just a really bad plan overall because you're putting more other people's lives at risk than the people you're taking out.
Yeah, but of course, whoever wrote this story probably didn't really think of that.
Yeah.
But then again, we've talked on several occasions how at times these little tidbits don't necessarily cross these authors' minds a lot of times, right?
I guess.
All right. So, anyways, as we get back to the story, of course, let's move on to the next page here. Gosh, a guy just jumped from the other engine. He's on our tender. Well, shoot him! The spy takes aim. But the cyclone picks up a piece of coal. Hope I haven't forgotten my baseball training. Flings it right over the plate. Ouch, my hand! Oh, wait. Oh, what am I doing? I'll sling these coals in his mush. The spy throws the coals, but the cyclone ducks. You missed me! And the red-hot coals strike the other spy in the face. Ugh! He topples off the guard. Yow! The cyclone lays the other spy flat. This'll make you tame. What's the rest of your plot? Tell, or I'll cram you into the fire.
Mean.
Yeah, but as we know, the writers in this time period were pretty mean at times.
Yeah.
They had quite a thing for torturing people, I guess.
Yeah, but here's the problem. I get torture, and there's a lot of debate as to whether torture is even useful because most times people will just give you fake information to get you to stop torturing them, right? So it's unreliable at best. But at the same time, it's like, if you are going to torture someone, did you want to do it in a way to where if after you start torturing them, they can answer you?
Oh, what?
Because I don't think if he shoves this guy's head in the fire after he starts torturing him, he's able to answer him.
A good point.
Yeah.
The cyclone's bluff worked. No, not that. I'll tell. The Medmac shipyards just ahead. And you notice how red they made the guy's face?
Yeah.
Now, granted, he's not even in the fire yet. I don't know if I can understand having the glow come off somebody's face, but I mean...
Yeah, you would definitely have a glow on the front of the face, like on the cheeks and the forehead and the nose and everything.
But that seems a little much.
Yeah. I think it's just...
in the previous panel there, it seems a little much right there.
Maybe because the direction it's coming from, the gate to the furnace is on the camera side, so maybe the artist is thinking some of the glow is reflecting off of the metal cover.
That's possible, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. There's a bomb under the boat's bow. It's time for 3 o'clock. Yes, I know. A Navy destroyer is being built. What is? Oh, okay. Okay, I thought it was the other way, but yes, I know. Yes, I know. A Navy destroyer is being built. What is the plot? There's a bomb under the boat's bow. It's timed for 3 o'clock. It's 2:30. It's 2:30 now. Shovel coal, you dirty spy, or I'll. And he gets right to work.
Yeah. I'll shovel you.
Uh, at Medmac Station, the police arrive. Officer, arrest this man. He's a spy. Yeah, yes, but you'll have to come along too. The cyclone leaks for the telephone wires. So sorry, I must hurry. It's 2:55. I've just got time. The Medmax shipyards.
The telephone wire thing has kind of become his preferred way of travel now, it seems.
His way, or just what you're seeing in comics in general at this point?
No, just his. Like, yep, all kinds of ways. Could have stole another train, I guess. Could have stole a cop car. No, we're just going to go straight to the telephone wires, which I have respect for because at least it means he doesn't have to steal another vehicle. So there's that.
Yeah. But it's somewhat dangerous because of the potential shock value.
Yeah, but probably less dangerous than what he was doing with that train for other people, anyway.
Yeah. The cyclone dives from the wires. He swings through the steel girders. There's the bow of the boat. He reaches the bow of the boat. That must be the bomb. He hurls the bomb high into the air. Tick, tick, tick. And it explodes harmlessly in the river. Splash! Yeah. You kind of have to wonder how it could, I would think that once the mechanisms all got wet and all that, I would think that would almost short the thing out or whatever.
Yeah. Like, it depends on the nature of the bomb, but I'm thinking of what they had access to back then. Like, there'd have to be some type of ignition, right? Whether it was powder or liquid chemical, whatever, there'd still have to be some type of ignition to get the bomb going, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I could think of liquid chemicals that don't need an ignition, but I don't know if these guys had access to that. So if it is ignition, being underwater should probably stop the fuse or whatever from going,
Yeah, but yeah. Two other spies, workers at the shipyard.
Unless the case is waterproof. Maybe it was watertight. They were planning this to be a bomb in a shipyard.
Yeah. Oh, that could be true too. That guy is on us. Let him have it. Bang! Bang! The cyclone steps to a riveter's furnace. Let me have your tongs. He picks up a red-hot rivet. And hurls it. Here's a hot one. Okay, that's a nice line right there. Here's a hot one. Yeehaw! Here I come. As he swings on a hook. Ugh! Ugh! Run! We've still got a chance. Just then, a crane swings a girder upwards. The cyclone leaps to catch it. He hangs by his feet from the girder. And seizes the spies. I want a full confession from you two. The girder is hoisted high into the air. Yes, we'll confess. Don't drop us. We'll tell everything. That cleans up this spy plot, but I'll never rest until every crook and spy is jailed. Follow the adventures of the Cyclone in each issue of Whirlwind Comics. All right. Overall impressions, Metal?
I don't know. I know I've read this guy before with you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to feel about him, to be honest. So he's been very hit or miss with me within the same issue that we're reading.
Oh, so there were times you were like cool, and then other times you go, nah.
Yeah.
And look who's paying us a visit. Hey, Fitzjozo.
I think if I was a kid when this was running, I'd probably skip this comic, to be honest. Like after reading it once or twice, I'd be like, I'm just gonna go read the other things in the issue.
You know what's kind of funny how you say that?
Yeah.
Because when I was looking at this earlier, right, when I was prepping for the show and stuff like that. So this is issue number 2 of this comic, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Try to take a guess at how many issues in total this thing ran.
5.
Less.
Less than 5? What, 2? Was this like the only other issue?
More than 2.
Okay, 4.
Less.
It was just 3. Okay.
Yeah. It ran for 3 issues, so.
Yeah, like I said, I would have been done with this guy after this issue. I'm like, yeah, I'm just other things.
All right, well, let's look at one of those other things. And Smash Dawson, when I was previewing earlier, and the reason I switched back to him, because I think, if you did read this comic with me before, this other guy we're about to do, Smash Dawson, may probably be familiar as well. Because when I saw him and I saw whose adversaries were, I realized, oh, I think we read this one before too. So, let's get going on that. Let's see, there's Scoop Hanlon, of course. Inspector Blake of Scotland Yard. You had a lot of these stories too. Inspectors from Scotland Yard. Wings Borden, kind of an aviator comic there. Rex Royce of the Royal Mounted Police. Dick Blaze.
A very unfortunate name.
Huh?
It's a very unfortunate name, Dick Blaze.
Oh, because of the possible imagery of a very painful thing for a guy?
Yes.
Lieutenant Jim Landis, U.S. Coast Guard.
Like, I think if my parents named me Richard Blaze, I'd probably go with Rich instead of Dick.
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny. I think now, because, of course, as you know, with Richard, people have either gone with Rich or Dick. Either one has been used as a
Or
short term,
Rick, like our buddy.
or Rick. Yeah. So I think most people would go with Rick or Rich nowadays as opposed to Dick because of the other aspect there.
Oh, it depends, right? Because technically, that's been a word for the male genitalia going way, way back, like hundreds of years, right? But it never necessarily stopped people from using that name because you could be bragging. There's that too. But I think with the added of having characters like Dick Grayson being popular characters, that some people might opt in for that as their nickname. But if my last name was Blaze, I definitely wouldn't.
Yeah. Because the imagery that would pull up would probably be scary for a lot of guys, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't think no guy would want to have such a thing happen, as it were. Let's see, Bruce Barlow, Conqueror of the Planets. Doodad.
I mean, maybe you could turn it around in your favor because you could like turn to the women and be like, trust me, I'll leave you feeling hot. But that's like the only thing you could probably get away with there.
Yeah, so now let me ask you this, because when I saw this earlier when I was previewing and all that, this looked kind of familiar. Does it?
I remember the Magic Mandarin. We did definitely cover this before.
All right. Smash Dawson and the Magic Mandarin.
Where they made them literally yellow.
and they still have made them
like lemon yellow.
Huh?
But that's the only color they had available, limited print colors, but I'm sure they could have done something other than lemon yellow.
Yeah, and I'm sure that a lot of the woke people today would be like, oh. So Smash Dawson and the Magic Mandarin. Li Ching, a harmless importer in New York City, once he dons his sacred robe of the Manchus, he becomes the feared Magic Mandarin, who has sworn to annihilate the white race from the face of the earth. To accomplish these ends, he employs a dynamic stone of magnetic power which he inherited from his ancestors. Man, the left would be loving this guy right now, right?
Yeah, sure.
Do you think the modern day leftist would love this guy because he wants to sit there and wipe out the white race?
I think they'd be conflicted because they would probably want his goals, but they wouldn't want what they would see as like a racial stereotype of another culture done too. So I think they'd probably be happier if you completely swapped him. Like just they would race swap him.
Yeah. A dynamic stone of magnetic power which he inherited from his ancestors. His archenemy is Smash Dawson, crack correspondent of the New York Record, who is aware of the Mandarin's I think identity. I think it's supposed to be identity, but I guess they added an N in there.
Yeah.
And horrible purpose. The Mandarin has assembled his henchmen outside Kelly Field, San Antonio, Texas.
Oh, I've been there several times.
Oh, you've been to Kelly Field?
Yes. I've been all over Texas for many different reasons, but that was my stomping grounds.
You lived in Texas, though, right?
Yeah, but San Antonio's like what 5-6 hour drive from where I lived. But I've had many reasons to go there. Yeah.
Yeah. Brothers of the bloody blade, we have assembled here to direct an attack on the Air Force of the United States. We pledge to give our lifeblood to the cause. Almighty Mandarin. The United States remain impregnable so long as the Air Force exists. We must totally destroy it. This stone shall be used for that purpose. Let's see. Susan joins Mandarin or Smash in covering his assignment at Kelly Field. My paper sent me down here on assignment, but I tell you, Colonel Tate, in massing so much airstring, you are offering too great a temptation to the magic Mandarin. I tell you, he must be here. Excuse me a moment. I need to go off camera here for a moment. I'll be right back. If you want to talk to everybody, see if you can, if you want to promote anything.
I guess. Yeah.
All right, I'll be right back.
I don't really have much to say at the moment, but I'll keep talking and stall some time. Talking about earlier and how like modern, I guess, the people who control comics now, the mainstream, would probably like this character. The character, equally, if you were to modernize it, would probably hate them because, in China, they have a term called bai jiao, which means white left. Literally, that's what it translates to. Because even as much as you might have a stereotype that you might have this weird fanatical Chinese person that wants to get rid of the entire white race, modernly it's Western liberals that they hate the most. So that would be a more accurate portrayal in the modern day. What is the comic we're talking about? Currently, we're on Smash Dobson, whose main villain is the Magic Mandarin. This is, I believe, the second comic, because it's the second issue. I had the, I guess, pleasure. I don't know the word I'm looking for. The luck of the being on here the first issue. So like I actually know somewhat of what the through line is between these stories. The first one was kind of wild, especially because of the disguises that they had before they like ripped off their like fake faces or whatever, and then it was like these really stereotypical yellow Chinese men. That's kind of funny, actually, because it was just like a night and day difference. But yeah, not to be confused with Marvel Comics Mandarin. Yeah. No, I don't know. Definitely Marvel's Mandarin was magical. So I could see somebody off the cuff just calling him a magic Mandarin at some point. But this guy's name is literally the Magic Mandarin. Yeah. But he definitely would not like most of the people working on comics now, for sure. So maybe he would still be an appropriate villain. But this guy doesn't have any. Well, I guess it depends on which version of the Mandarin you're talking about. But he doesn't have any magical rings, or anything like that. He's just a folk sorcerer. He's got like a folk craft, ethnic Chinese magic type stuff that I don't think the author actually knows that much about. But, sometimes knowing absolutely nothing about what you're writing can be fun in its own way. It leads to really outlandish and bizarre imaginative answers to things. Isn't Chinese magic just qi? No, it is not qi necessarily. Sometimes it can involve it, but people mystify qi too much, especially in the West. Qi just literally means flow. Everything has qi. Magic, from a Chinese lens, will sometimes manipulate qi, but it's something supernatural or paranormal on top of that, right? Um, Also, not to be confused with medicine, because unlike in the West, where sometimes ethnic like medicine practices would be considered like magic or voodoo or witchcraft, the concept of magic in Chinese folklore is completely separated from medicine, which is actually more connected to qi.
Interesting. So thanks for helping to keep the time going there. Sorry about that. Just need to take care of some stuff real quick. Anyways, back to the story. That's absolutely ridiculous, Dawson. Talk of magic Mandarin and the annihilation of the Air Force? Why, it sounds like a tabloid reporter's dream. Suppose you take care of your story, Dawson, and let us worry about the safety of the force. In other words, don't butt in. The following morning, the entire Air Force of the United States, um, of the United States Army, um, prepares to embark on maneuvers. I have a funny feeling I wish I knew where the magic Mandarin was. He got away last time, and I'm afraid he's intent on making trouble. What's that plane doing up there? It's one of ours. I can see that by the emblem. That spells trouble. I must have a plane. You must let me go up. That's an impossible request. We begin maneuvers any moment now, Dawson. I must remind you to stay out of our affairs, or I shall order you off the field. Oh boy. He's trying to help you, and yet you don't want his help.
Yeah.
In desperation, Susan and Dawson steal a fast scout plane and take off for a closer look of the mysterious light bomber hovering over the field. All right, well, you're not going to give me one, so I'll just take it, right?
Yeah. Also, to respond to Fitzjoseph, he says American magic is anything that breaks the laws of physics. Historically, magi was originally named from Zoroastrianism. No, I'm just using magic because that's the word in English that we use now to refer to sorcery and such things. Actually, sorcery would be a better translation, but the Chinese have an old word called mofa, and that is what they would refer to as like black arts or sorcery, or even modernly they use the same word for sleight of hand, which is what we use for magic and illusions also modernly. But it would be completely separate from the concept of qi, which is a natural thing that occurs in all objects.
Yeah,
and between things and systems.
if I understand, in China they call it qi. I think maybe in Japan they call it ki.
Yeah.
Another term for it wouldn't another term be for it, like aura, maybe?
Aura might fall under it. That's kind of like too loose of a term and doesn't have like the exact names. I think a lot of people try to translate chi as air or atmosphere sometimes. Some people try to translate it as energy. I think all of these are actually missing what the actual meaning of it is. And the meaning of Qi, if you've studied a lot of like martial arts and Chinese history and their medical practices and even feng shui, is flow. It is the flow of energy, or the flow of systems, the flow of things, right? So the steam that rises off of rice, which is where the word for Qi comes from, is a flow, right? Your breath, the blood going through your body, the kinetic energy through your body is a flow, right? The dance between two people on a battlefield is also a flow. The traffic through your house or through a town is a flow, and all of these things are referred to as Qi.
All right. I was just thinking, could that mean also like chakra from Naruto fame?
Yes,
That be
chakra
considered...
is from the same root. Yeah.
All right.
It's that's a little more specific though. That would go a long dive into explaining exactly what chakra is, but the way they use it in Naruto is functionally the same.
Right.
There's a medicinal background you have to jump into if you want to understand chakra.
Yeah. I'll bet a byline the Mandarin swiped that plane to take the controls. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll bet a byline the Mandarin swiped that plane to take the controls, Susan. I'm going down. You take the controls, Susan. I'm going down the rope ladder to look at it. With Susan at the controls, the plane soars directly over the bomber as Smash starts down the rope ladder. He succeeds in dropping to the wing of the bomber, but this visit is received with a volley of pistol fire. Now, of course, this is a little stunt that we've seen in a number of movies and all that. Yeah, that would be quite a dangerous stunt to try to pull, though, in real life, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
But you
what
know
if...
what? It's comics, so somebody's going to be able to pull it off, right?
Right. Bang, bang! Realizing that he would be hurtling to his doom if they stunted him, Smash uh, desperately leaps through the window of the cabin and into the plane. A fight in the belly of the bomber ensues. Belly of the bomber. I wonder if that's like being in the belly of the beast.
I guess. I don't know. I
I
mean, every
meant that
plane
as a
has a
joke.
belly, so I mean, it's the proper term to use, but
Yeah, I was being facetious there, of course. Um, the Manchus finally overcome Smash. It is once too often you have endeavored to interfere with my plans. Now you shall have the privilege of seeing your country's Air Force paralyzed. That remains to be seen. Almighty Mandarin, the other plane hovers above. Shoot it down. No mercy shall be shown to meddlers. Meddlers, a common phrase used by the bad guys in this time period, right?
I mean, yeah, it's anybody who meddles.
Yeah. Like those meddling kids. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat, rat-a-tat-tat-tat. While bullets whistle by, Susan looms out of the machine gun range to radio the field for help. Calling Cully Field. Send up a squadron to shoot down light bomber. Directing to the point there, huh? Now, Fall, does she think we cannot intercept her message for aid? I shall use our magnetic stone on the Air Force. Stand aside, Manchus. I am about to uncover the sacred stone and destroy the Air Force. Meanwhile, back at the airfield, a wirelesser, the stolen army plane. It reports distress and asks assistance in stopping a strange plane overhead. Signal a squadron of pursuit planes and take to the air at once. Dawson takes possession of the magnetic stone. He snaps his silk pocket and kerchief from his breast pocket. Covered up with silk, the stone loses its potency. Wow, silk covering up a stone. That's losing its. That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't. If it was actually magnetic, I don't think silk would do much.
Yeah. Susan swiftly becomes a target for a Manchu bullet, and wounded, she loses control of the plane. It pancakes onto the ground. The attack squadron, realizing Smash might be imperiled, don't shoot, but force them down to the ground. If they open fire, be careful. Ah, foolish whites! Little do they know of my impenetrable electric ray, with which I can surround this plane. Now, Dawson, no help can come to you. I command you to give me back the stone. As the pursuit planes approach the bomber, an invisible force holds them back. The outraged squadron commander, in desperation, orders his men to shoot down the plane.
This is why I'm
Shoot it
glad
down!
that
Go ahead.
they're describing this as magic, because clearly, otherwise, they've never heard of the inverse square law, where like the potency of something like electromagnetism, sound, light, gravity, and everything dissipates in proportion to the square of the distance of its source. But it's magic, so like you can ignore the inverse square law when you're dealing with magic.
You can do magic. Talking so much about magic remind me of that 70s song.
Yeah.
But the bullets cannot penetrate the invisible barrier either, and they fall harmlessly to the earth. I will not return the stone to you. I've got you where I've always wanted to. You're powerless without the stone. Ha ha, you foolish dog! What do you think you can do with it? Only members of the Manchurian dynasty Manchurian dynasty are empowered by the stone. Smash counters with a terrific blow. Oh. With that, the Mandarin lunges at the stone and flings it out the window. The blow having little effect on the Mandarin.
I think this page needs more arrows. Like they gave us the one, and I actually really like this interesting, almost like dynamic paneling, and some of it kind of makes sense to flow, but it's got like a Z formation. But either don't give us any arrows at all and let us figure it out, or give us more arrows because this is a pretty confusing page.
Mm-hmm. He throws himself out of the door after it. He's crazy. He's committing suicide. But the Mandarin halts his mad plunge to earth by removing his silken cloak. He releases a parachute and floats slowly down. Yeah, it would help if they did what you suggested.
Yeah.
Obviously, he finds his silk bone. He finds his silk robe almost at the spot of the fallen gem. He puts it on, retrieving the stone, but comes face to face with Susan, who lies injured against the trunk of a tree. I knew my magnetic powers would take me directly to the stone. Susan.
Hey, Mike, do you need
What?
to adjust your window or something? You keep getting blocked out by the sun every time you lean in.
Oh, all right. Let's see. Yeah, well, I guess now that I'm in the 6 o'clock hour, I guess that would be a bit of a more of a problem. Part of the reason why I moved back, moved the hour ahead, moved to like,
Just to try to deal with the sun.
yeah. Well, that was one of the things that kind of I realized because usually in the summertime, if you remember, in the summer times when I would be running at 6 o'clock, the glare would be like directly behind me a lot of times. So
Yeah.
but let me see now. What you're talking about is when I like go down real low like this. Is that when it?
Well, you're fine like that. It's like when you lean over to the side while you're reading, and your head's like in the bottom corner. The glare just blinks you out.
Okay, well,
If you're fine with that, that's fine. I was just letting you know.
yeah. I mean, I'm basically I should be fine still as long as I stay. But I guess what I need to probably do is just try to keep from going side to side too much.
Yeah, if you stay centered, you're pretty good.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thanks for letting me know, though.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get back to the story here then. All right. So Susan bolsters enough strength to draw a pistol. Ah, my ingenious beauty. You are wounded. None of your flower. Wait. Oh. None of your flowery Oriental nonsense. Put your hands up. The stone, once more in his possession, the magic Mandarin takes to flight. You cannot show me. Try it. That man is inhuman. Smash lands the stolen plane and bombs the Mandarin's Manchus as and brings the Mandarin's Manchus as he's as prisoners. Susan returns safely and given treatment for her slight flesh wound is returned to her home. I want to apologize for what I said to you before, Dawson. That's perfectly all right, Colonel. You see, I had an ulterior motive. I wanted to get a good story for my paper as well as help the government. Let's see. I am turning these two prisoners over to you, Colonel Tate, and I promise to deliver the magic mandarin to the authorities within a reasonable time. Again, the magic mandarin has eluded capture. See the next issue of Whirlwind Comics for further Smash Dawson adventures.
Well, of
All
course
right.
he eluded capture, or else you'd have to come up with another villain.
Yeah, and I don't know how much longer this particular feature will be here. I don't know if it will move to another, because as I told you earlier, it only this book only ran for 3 issues. I don't know if like Smash Dawson will continue in another book or what have you. But
Yeah, sounds like it wasn't particularly popular.
yeah. Overall impressions.
It was less crazy than the first issue for Smash. That had a lot of left turns in it. I have to admit. This was a little bit more straightforward. There was enough action, I guess, but it was really just focused on travel. It was more just like going from point A to point B than really doing anything.
Would you say that there may have been somewhat of a progression in the writing here?
It definitely, the writing was more focused than the first one, for sure. The first one really felt like it was that type of pilot episode where you're just kind of going all out trying to catch people's attention, whether it made sense what you were doing or not. And this one's like actually setting up for a potential long story of we're going to chase the magic mandarin around the world. Whether that continues or not, like you just said, we don't know, but at least it seems to be the attempt here. But because of that, there's more focus on travel than there is on stuff happening. So I don't know if that is a benefit or a bane for this comic. I haven't decided yet.
Okay. And for all we know, we may get to the next issue, issue 3, and then it's just
it's done.
Yeah. All right. So, anyways, now we'll move on to Crash Comics Volume 1, Issue 3. So go grab that. Let's see now. So, how are you liking the selection so far?
I don't know. I'm gonna sit on that,
Well, I'm going to ask at the, I'm going to ask for best and worst, at the end.
I'm not even thinking about that right now. I'm trying to just think like overall how I'm feeling.
Well, you don't need to, because we still have at least one, maybe 2 or 3 more stories to go, depending on.
Yeah, maybe that'll.
We're at an hour 17 already, so
cement my opinion more as we go through.
And where we're going here is still going to be again another company that eventually became part of Holyoke, but Tennyson right there, Tennyson, Heinlein, Continental.
All I could say right now is that I'm understanding why that particular anthology or whatever only got 4 issues.
You mean 3 issues?
Or 3 issues, yeah. Only got 3 issues. Like, I'm understanding why.
Basically, you're not too high on the writing of it, I take it.
I'm not too high on the direction of it, I think.
Hmm.
I don't think the writing's inherently the problem, because, writers can progress as long as you've got like a good direction.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like, how can I put it? It doesn't feel like editorial is really even talking to the people working on it because it just feels like they're kind of left on their own. Like, hey, just make sure you get your pages done and then we're going to put it into the book.
Yeah. So almost sound like it's kind of directionless almost. What would you say?
Yeah.
Hmm. All right. Well, anyways, moving on to the next comic here, Crash Comics Volume 1, Issue 3. Of course, we're going to start out with Strong. Now, of course, Cyclone was said to be, I think, 18 pages, and Smash Awesome was 8. Strongman here will be 19 pages, and then each of the two stories I'm considering, whether it be Blue Streak or Jane Drake Detective, are each 5. So we'll have a couple longer stories and a couple of short ones here, basically. So by the time all said and done. Let's see, featuring Strongman, the Perfect Human, Crash Comics Adventures, Shangra, Buck Burke, Blue Streak, the new sensation.
Now, I remembered Crash being stronger the last time that we read a Crash comic.
All right. Strongman, the Perfect Human. Strongman, ever fighting for American ideals. With his terrific superhuman strength, he has just saved the Panama Canal from destruction. Now he is back on board his luxurious yacht, where his guest, unaware that he is Strongman, know him as Percy Van Norton, an idle, rich playboy. The yacht heads out into that. Yeah, a lot of the heroes. Okay, so here's a funny thing, right? Either your heroes were reporters or idle playboys.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, it kind of makes sense, right? One, their ears always to the ground, so they can kind of follow what's going on without it being seen as weird. It's like, well, yeah, he's a reporter. Of course, he's going to be near all the conflict, right? And then the other one with the idle playboy, it's like, well, this is the type of person who's got the money and the time to necessarily do these things. So it also kind of makes sense that our two greatest superheroes historically, Superman and Batman, fall into both of those categories.
Right. Uh-huh. All right. So in the wireless cabin. What's the matter, Sparks? I picked up a mysterious code message. I'd better take it up to Mr. Van Norton. I picked up this spectacular message, sir. Let me see it, Sparks. I must try to decipher this. It may be of international importance. And here we go with the boxing again here. Oh, at least from the looks of it, looks like they're numbering the panels this time.
Oh yeah, that's very helpful. And it also makes sense this with this boxing, it just kind of like wrap around, but you could easily read it wrong if they weren't numbering it.
Yeah, at least the code message. IFQZ MRZ QL YB RMEZ Later. I've got it. I've broken the code. The message decoded. Rutania to be invaded. Why, Rutania is a small Balkan kingdom. Its neighbor, Iser, is a dictatorship with millions of soldiers. I must try to stop this international crime. And now they have the arrow.
They still have the number at least, though, right? So you see it going from 5 to 6.
Yeah. You've changed the yacht's course, Percy. Where are we going now? To Retania. King Lorak is an old friend of my father's. That's swell. We'll have fun there. Suddenly, a sailor on lookout duty sees periscope off the port bow. The periscope of a ruthless submarine. The sub rises to the surface. Within the sub, fire number 1 torpedo! The deadly torpedo speeds straight for the yacht. On the yacht, there is a panic. To the boats! No, it's too late. We'll be killed! Meanwhile, in Percy's cabin, it's time for me to become strongman. Strongman squeezes through a porthole. It's a tight fit, but I'll make it. Quite a tight fit, I guess.
I think his shoulders are way too broad to be fitting through that porthole. You'd have to like dislocate them or something.
Ay, ay, ay.
Even if he went through like one arm first, like I don't know, man. He's popping something out of socket and then popping it back in.
Unnoticed in the excitement, he slips into the water. Strongman swims under toward the torpedo. There it is. I'm in time. He seizes it, turns it around. Right back where you came from. Back at the submarine, speeds the torpedo. It strikes. Boom! The torpedo bomber agenda the torpedo boomeranged. A miracle. Then we won't be killed? Strongman returns to his cabin. Now I'll be Percy again. A few minutes later, Oh, Percy, we barely escaped death, and I'll bet you were asleep the whole time. Not quite asleep.
It's an interesting that he sees his two different lives as like different people. You know, like switching between them is like, and now I'll be Percy again.
Well, I mean, we've seen this
I know
in
it's not
some other
uncommon.
shows. It's Batman's typical thing, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm just saying, like how commonplace that was for superheroes even back in this time. You know, it's not like everybody was necessarily borrowing it from other heroes. It was just something everyone was kind of doing.
Yeah.
It's like having different personalities for your work and home life. You know,
Right.
it's like, I go to work and this is who I am. I come home and I get to be me.
Yeah. Uh, all right. So let's see now. Meanwhile, King Lorak of Ruritania. Do you bring bad news? Yes, your majesty. I, sir, has invaded Ruritania without warning. Dictator Nilot demands that we yield. Ruritania will never yield to a dictator like Nilot. We shall fight to the last man. A few days later, the yacht arrives in Ruritania. Well, here we are. I'm sure King Lorak will receive us. What a picturesque country. In King Lorak's palace, it is kind of you to see us. You come at a time when Ruritania is in great peril. Dictator Nilot is sending crack troops over the pass to um, Mount Caucasus. Um, you can see the mountain from here. Mount Caucasus, clad in eternal snow. Where can I buy a pair of skis? What?
Why is that a weird question?
Oh, I would say it's probably weird because of the timing.
Nah, I mean, you see a mountain there, you got to ski it. That's not weird at all.
Isn't that just like Percy? A cruel war is raging, and he thinks only of sport.
I mean,
Or
it,
so
it
you
seems like
think.
it's totally in character too. At least for like that persona.
Right. Well, I mean, I think it proves to be a good way to kind of keep people from figuring out the two separate identities, right? Or
Oh
one.
yeah, especially if you go off skiing by yourself. Like he needs the ski to do what he wants to do, what he actually wants to do. But if you go off skiing by yourself, nobody can see you switching between the two personas.
Mm-hmm. On the other side of Mount Caucasus, the Isurians. Um, why are uh, why are we fighting Rutania? Shh, or General Chatoy will have you shot. Field headquarters of General Shatov. The troops must advance at any cost. Nilot wants Rutania conquered in 2 weeks. Wow, that's ambitious, isn't it?
It's good to have goals, man. Like Aim for the sky.
Meanwhile, Percy, these skis do nicely, thank you. All Americans are crazy.
You know what? You're right. We embrace it.
Crazy like a fox, right?
Crazy like a soaring eagle.
In a lonely spot, he becomes strongman. Now for Mount Caucasus. Strongman goes leaping up the rugged mountain. I'll reach the snow line soon. This must be near the top.
It might be hard to leap up once he gets to the snow line, though. So hopefully that's not his plan, because, he puts his weight down to leap into the snow, and then his foot just slips.
At the top, his keen eyes pierce the distance. There's an Assyrian army down below. He puts on his skis. I'm off. Down he whizzes at the terrific speed. Whizzes. We know what it means here. But of course, there's another meaning, right?
Oh, yeah. It's the reason why you don't often see Marvel using the Whizzer.
Because we all know what that means, don't we?
Yeah.
Even though back in the 40s, and I remember too that I don't know if you ever watched the 90s Spider-Man cartoon.
Oh, yeah, I did. I loved it.
So you remember there was that arc where of course they were able to revive Captain America or bring him out of that thing, and you had the five heroes, right? And you had the one who was called the Wizard, and then of course Spider-Man, Peter Parker, voiced of course at the time by Christopher Daniel Barnes, asked, so how did you come up with the name Wizard? Why did you call yourself the Wizard? Well, because that's the sound I make when I run.
Yeah, he just whizzes on by. Yeah, we don't often see Marvel use the Whizzer if his chosen, which he does actually pop up from time to time, but a lot of times they do use him as a joke. He's just not like a mainstay anymore. The Whizzer was, I think actually he predates him, the original speedster for Marvel before Quicksilver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does predate him.
Yeah. And it actually was a really cool character. I wish they would bring him back around more often. It's just like he has a very unfortunate name with what people think of whizzing these days. But obviously, whiz just means fast, right? So if somebody whizzes on by, or if somebody was quick in the head, you might call them a whiz, like a whiz kid. Yeah, like I said, he shows up from time to time in the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon. They actually made fun of him. They had like this overweight guy be the Wizard in Jessica Jones, the live-action Netflix one. So like he pops up, but he's just not a mainstay anymore.
Yeah, I mean, he would be kind of a joke because of when people hear the word whiz or whizzer, they have a totally different meaning than just somebody just speeding by.
Yeah.
Or if it does have something to do with speed, it's not necessarily a person running with speed that they think of when they think of.
Yeah, you might have the Wizard's gonna go off screen and be like, "Sorry, I have to go take a me real quick."
Yeah. So, anyways, let's get back to the story, of course. Actually, I need to go off camera here again for a moment, so I'll be right back. So if you can entertain the crowd for a moment, or keep, well, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Looking at the page we've been reading, I'm actually really, really glad that they numbered it, because there is absolutely no way, without the numbers, that I would read these panels in the right order. Very, very creative paneling. I'm not going to slight them, but I would be reading this page twice, like putting the story together to figure out what order I needed to read these panels in. It is not intuitive. So I'm not against numbering panels, as long as the numbers are small enough that they don't block anything important in the art, which the art is so minimal here. That's a very easy thing to do. But yeah, I like the Wizard. I would actually probably say, probably top 10. Lower end, he might be 9 or 10, but probably top 10 favorite Marvel characters. I think he should have his own full run, but you have to give him to somebody who's not going to treat him like a total joke. You know? Which I don't see that's happening, because modern Marvel writers can't even treat the important flagship characters like they're not a total joke. So, give it to me. I'll do a Wizard run. I'll write the whole thing. Hire me, Marvel. Only for me to quit because I hate your company. Yeah, no, I actually have no intention of ever working for one of those big companies. They suck. I actually kind of like the strongman character that we're seeing, though. So far, he's the most sensical character out of like everyone we've interacted with today, which I guess is 1 out of 3. But even compared to the side characters in the stories, and he's actually just kind of like a normie in many ways, like as a character. A lot of superheroes, they like to do like weird things, try to stand out. This guy's like, nah, I'm strong and I'm a man. I'm going to go by a strong man. Very sensible, very normal. I like it. I like Percy. Percy's a good character.
All right, I'm back. Thanks for holding the fort for me there.
Well, if there's
all right,
one
let's
thing I'm
start.
good at, it's yapping.
Yeah. All right. Swish, swish. Then he takes tremendous jump. Up we go. High, high into the air he goes. The Isuran troops see him. Look, there's a man in the sky. It's a ghost coming to punish us. Strongman begins to drop. I'm right above the Isurans now. He lands squarely on the troops. Well, that's got to be something.
No, with that much like momentum, he'd probably break a couple of their backs or whatever, So, not that he cares. He's trying to disable them, but still.
Yeah. Kicking off his skis, Strongman goes into action. The way they're dressed there, they almost look more. Those look more like prison uniforms than soldier uniforms.
There's some older soldier uniforms in certain parts of the world that do just look straight up like prison uniforms. Especially like, have you ever seen some of the like Chinese military uniforms that are just loose, straight button down shirts?
My life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. You're brave soldiers, huh? I'll show you that war doesn't pay. He's a ghost. Bullets don't hurt him.
Is that the only thing you could think of that bullets wouldn't hurt? You just go straight for ghost?
Angered at their repeated attacks, Strongman runs over to the transport truck, lifts up the rear end, and tosses the soldiers to the ground. Just dumps them. Yow! Everybody out!
Oh, he does it like one-handed too.
Machine gun opens fire, but the strongman plays tat tat and kicks it into the air. Runs and kicks it in the air. The soldiers flee in terror. Run, he'll kill us all. I knew this war was wrong. Strongman hoists up a heavy armored car and throws it. Yeah, just like Superman, right?
Yeah. That's why this guy just keeps striking me as like Superman if he didn't care about his enemies.
Yeah. Let's see. At a highway bridge, at a highway bridge and smashes it completely. That cuts their line of communication. The isolated battalion in desperate straits. Our ammunition is gone. So's the food. We're lost. Nilat's battalion is cut to pieces by the Ruthenian troops. At the men! It's all over! In Aisher's capital, Wascom, the news reaches Nilat. Now before I continue read here, I remember reading something about this. Do you notice anything about the particular words there? Aisher, Wascom, Nilat.
Yes, they're all the names of what they're talking about backwards.
So,
So we got Russia, Moscow, Stalin. Yeah.
Yeah.
I picked that up pretty early on.
When I was previewing this earlier this week, I actually did read a note on that all this they just put the words backwards, kind of indicated who they were talking about.
Yeah, it's like we don't have to be creative because if we put these things backwards, they kind of make up words anyway.
Sir, the 62nd Battalion has been cut to pieces. What? General Shatov has failed. He must pay the price. General Shatov shot by the firing squad for his failure. Strongman speeds to Wascom. He approaches Nilat's stronghold. I think his room is on the 4th floor. The 2 sentries bar his path. Halt, or we'll fire. Fire away. The other sentry. There must be blanks in my gun. I've shot him twice. You will shoot no more. Strongman scales the tower wall. In the tower, Nilix worries. I have a feeling of danger. My special car is always ready. I'll reach it through the secret passage. Strongman crashes into the tower. But he finds four Nilots. Which of you is Nilots? None of us. We're his four doubles. The real Nilots has fled in his car. Oh, I see. Four identical. Yeah, leave your identical quadruplets behind to cover your escape,
Your
right?
army of body doubles.
Huh?
Your army of body doubles.
Strongman gazes out the window. Yes, I see him now. Strongman speeds to an airfield. Out of my way. I'll take that plane. He takes off in the plane. I'll follow that car. In the plane's cabin, first I'll strap on this parachute.
That's a very unfortunate panel.
Huh?
So that's a very unfortunate panel. The way they decided to color through the glass, all of the inside the same as the skin.
Oh. Strongman sits the automatic pilot of the plane. This will cause the plane to swoop low over the car. He gets out and under the plane. The plane swoops low over Nilot's car. Strongman seizes the car. Yow! High into the air zooms the plane. Now, will you make peace with Rutania? Yes, peace treaty. I'll do anything. Only get me down. Strongman lets go of the plane with his feet. Now to pull the ripcord of the chute. The chute opens. We'll be down soon. Oh! A safe landing is made. Now, you remember the peace treaty or I'll... Yes, peace. I know when I'm beaten. Later. Percy, where have you been? There's to be a party at the palace. Do you know that the war is over? I've just been loafing about. Percy, I think you are the laziest, most useless man in the world. The whole world. Yes, I guess. Yeah, you're right. Follow the adventures of Strongman in each issue of Crash Comics. All right, overall impressions.
Well, overall, I like it, like in a vacuum. I like Percy as a character. I like Strongman. The problem is in the context of greater society, he does just come off as a direct parody of Superman,
Hmm.
right? Which is a weakness for him, um, especially given the time of what's happening. It's like, yeah, it's just a different Superman. He's got the same color palette too, which you can't blame him. They're not the primary colors for printing or for light, but they are the primary colors that kids are taught in schools. So they're very eye-catching colors of red, blue, yellow. It's got like the same haircut and everything for the most part. It's just like, this is not Superman. It's Strongman. But in that vacuum, he's a very sensible character. Uh, he he doesn't really care too much about bad guys, like he doesn't go out of his way to kill people, but he doesn't care about not killing them either. So he's kind of a cool character. I can imagine me liking this character as a kid if I was introduced to him before I was introduced to Superman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So anything more to say on this particular story then?
No, not really.
All right. We're actually at the hour 46 mark here, it looks like. So I think I'll start to wrap things up. So the first thing we'll do in closing, of course, here is so we did get through 3 features tonight. A couple of them were pretty lengthy ones. One was 18 pages, one was 19 pages, and then you had the 8 page. So we've talked about each of the stories individually, of course. So of the 3 features, which one did you like the most and why?
Probably Strongman. I think it was just the best written one, and it had the most likable character.
Of the 3?
Yeah.
All right. And with the remaining 2 features, which one did you like the least and why?
Oh, I already forgot his name. What was it, like the Cyclone or something?
The first one, the first story you read?
Yeah.
Cyclone. And
Yeah. That one was just like, God, I don't even know what they were thinking with that one. Like I said, reading that, I did not think anyone would be interested in another one after reading that one, which seems to kind of be the case since you said that comic only got 3 issues, like the whole thing. Like, I guess their whole lineup just wasn't strong enough to continue going on.
Well, Holyoke lasted for a few years. It's just that some of these early comics, however, I think
They'd start up
Strongman.
and they would die, and they would just start something up instead.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Strongman, I think, did move to another comic. I think I'm not really sure though, because Crash Comics here, I think only whereas Whirlwind only ran for 3 issues. You want to try to guess how many issues Crash Comics ran for?
Well, I saw you looking for the comic, so unless there are more that this site doesn't have archived, I'm going to guess 5.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, that it was 5 issues. So these earlier books, but I think Strongmen may have moved to another book for at least 1 or 2 stories, I think, but I'm not really sure. But as we go through this, we'll find out soon enough. So,
Oh yeah.
all right. So with that, now what we're going to do now, of course, is we're going to. Well, today is of course Sunday. Today, of course, is Sunday. Is Sunday, May the 18th, 2025. So it's time now to take a look back at this weekend in Nietzsche history. History! So, first off, we're going to head back 100 years ago yesterday. We're going to head back 100 years ago yesterday. Let's see. Did I find it here? As on yesterday's date 100 years ago, Walt Disney, as part of the Alice comedies, Walt Disney's Alice's Eggplant premiered, was released to theaters, premiered on yesterday's date rather, 100 years ago, with Anne Shirley under the name Dawn Day, portraying Alice in this particular episode. Let's see. Little Alice and Julius the cat, operate an egg factory. The hens are a bit lazy, but Julius cracks the whip. An out-of-town chicken arrives, only she's a labor agitator. Little Red Hensky from Moscow, Russia, who comes courtesy of IWW. Soon, she has the hens striking for shorter hours and smaller eggs. Alice and Julius need to fill an urgent egg order. They spot two roosters fighting. They organize a pugilistic event and charge each hen 1 egg admission. Alice and Julius fill their order and drive away, but the load slips off, breaking all the eggs. Oh boy.
Well, you know what? They deserve it for that scam.
Only appearance of Anne Shirley is Alice. Now, the funny thing about this, when I saw who was doing Alice in this episode, right, in this episode of this short series, Anne Shirley. It reminded me of the fact, of course, I'm watching the 1979
Anna Green Gables, who the main character has the same name.
Yep. So it's kind of fun, you know.
At least for now, you know. Yeah. Eventually, her name changes.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that, so there we go with that one. Now, of course, moving ahead to the year 2005 yesterday. 2010 rather, which was, of course, 15 years ago yesterday. 15 years ago yesterday, WWE held its Go Home Raw before the what pay-per-view was it? Before the Over the Edge pay-per-view that year from the Air Canada Centre in Toronto, Canada. The night saw in the main event John Cena defeat Sheamus via DQ. Evan Bourne and Gail Kim defeated Alicia Fox and Zack Ryder, a.k.a. Matt Cardona. Let's see. Bret Hart defeated The Miz by submission in a no DQ match to win the WWE United States Championship. This is at a time when Bret Hart had come back because I think they were going to, he had finally settled his issues with Vince McMahon. He was going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, I think, at this point, back in 2010. Ted DiBiase Jr. with Virgil defeated Yoshitatsu. In a Pick Your Poison match, The Undertaker defeated Edge by countout. The show opened up with Edge defeating Christian. So, a.k.a. Cope and Christian Cage in AEW right now. So with that, as we get ready to move on to today's date, we move ahead to the year we move back to the year 2005. As on today's date, back in 2005, the fifth and final issue of Containment from IDW went on sale on this date back in 2005, 20 years ago today. It sold for $3.99, was 32 pages. So on this date, 20 years ago today, the fifth and final issue of Containment went on sale on this date back in 2005 from IDW. And 2005 is just so nice that we're going to hit it twice. As also on this date in 2005, Vega Entertainment's OVA I'm my little sister's secret was released on this day as an OVA on this date back in 2005, 20 years ago. It was a very interesting when I looked up the synopsis for it. It was kind of interesting, but something that I don't think I should probably go into here.
Yeah, I would. I will keep my guesses as to why to myself.
Yeah, because you probably know what I'm talking. You probably know.
Yeah. I have some pretty found guesses.
And what we know about Japanese culture and what, at least in entertainment, they find acceptable compared to America would probably strike a few nerves here.
Well, yeah. Well, I take caution anytime I look at the Japanese title and I see Imoto, which just means little sister, but usually when it comes up, there's certain implications with that being in the title that you try to avoid.
Right. Yeah. So anyways, so with that, as I said, 20 years ago today, Vega Entertainment's "I'm My Little Sister's Secret," um, was released as an OVA. All right. So with that, so before we head out, um, Metal, would you like to, close out with doing any like closeout promotions? Want to just remind everybody what you're doing this week?
Oh, yeah. Let me get my links.
You know the shtick.
Let me get my links. Yeah. But also answer, what is anime's obsession with incest? Well, anime itself doesn't have an obsession. It's just certain genres that are allowed within it. I think it's just more that there's less censorship overall in anime. So people who want to write those stories have the freedom to and the audience for it, right? And honestly, the people who like that stuff tend to not have siblings, right? So it's just as much fantasy for them as any other type of fantasy. People like engaging in things that are foreign and novel to them in fantasy. It's almost why fantasy exists.
Yeah. And we were trying, not to engage in that conversation for obvious reasons, but
I mean, if it's the question's asked, though, we could be blunt and honest about it quickly. We don't have to dive into too many details.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
but anyway, this week you can find me over on the Vomitourium at youtube.com/@Vomitourium Live, where I will be on Super Serial Showtime on Monday at 9 Central PM, talking about probably mostly anime, but like films, shows, comics, whatever comes up. And over on Thursday, same time, same place, we'll be talking about probably mostly games, but also toys, collectibles, and other things like that if they come up in the news. And also, if you're bored and you just want some fun stuff to read or want to support me in other ways, that is not it. Oh my God, I lost my link. Hold on real quick. It's being stupid. Okay. Anyway, you can go over to xdynamischaos.com, which is where I put up all of my stories that I write, whether they're in comic, prose, or whatever form. There's tons of stuff on the site, including character bios, other cool things. You could spend hours there if you've just got the time. And you should check out the pinned link announcing the Dreamscape Dilemma, which is my upcoming premium comic, where you can get 5 pages for free right now as a sample. And if you don't want to wait for the whole comic to come out to buy it, you can support on Patreon at patreon.com/xdynamischaos. It's all the same links everywhere, where you can just read the pages as they're done. One's already been uploaded this week. And that's it. That's all I got.
All right. So with that, guys, of course, we'll be back here with more niche news tomorrow. And as you guys know, Monday through Friday, I cover, anime, cartoons, comics, manga. pro wrestling. I mean, wrestling wise, they've got a big week as the next weekend, the 23rd to the 25th, got some major events going on, including TNA's Under Siege pay-per-view. I've been mistakenly saying Rebellion. They just had Rebellion, but Under Siege coming up this Friday. Saturday, WWF's Saturday night's main event. And then Sunday, of course, you have AEW's Double or Nothing, as well as WWE will be putting up a PLE of its own, NXT's Battleground. So quite a bit to look forward to. We'll talk more about what the cards are tomorrow night, of course, as part of the wrestling wrap-up. We'll look ahead. We'll look back over this weekend's, shows like SmackDown, last night's Collision, and look ahead to, of course, tomorrow night's Raw, the Go Home Raw before the Saturday night event, and talk more in depth about what's already on the card for Rebellion, Saturday night's main event, Double or Nothing, and Battleground. So, with all that being said, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.